So the next portion in their book that we want to consider is the strengths and weaknesses of this classical approach, right? And so they're going to walk us through these various things. So first, the notable strengths of classical apologetics. And they tell us that classical apologetics, as the name implies, is the approach to apologetics that has the deepest roots in the history of Christian apologetics. And in its explicit modern form, it remains, they suggest, a potent force today. And so they want to give us several strengths that account for this approach's perennial success.
First, it affirms the universal applicability of reason. One of the great strengths of classical apologetics is its emphasis on the inescapable character of logic and reason. Let me drive under a tunnel. Let me dive to the deepest depths of the ocean. Let me go to the farthest moons. I cannot escape logic and reason. Oh, why? Why is it the case? Well, it's universal. And so where does that universal concept come from? Well, it's just there in the ether, although we can't understand it. Or it's just how humans relate to things. And it's just descriptions that help us think, which is something that I came across the other week. So that was interesting. But as Geisler observes, unless the law of non-contradiction holds, then there is not even the most minimal possibility of meaning or any hope for establishing truth. This is the absurdity that I always think of in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with the impossibility drive. So it creates an impossible thing, and the ship moves through space with that, and it becomes a ficus and a whale and all these other things. I mean, those are two different parts of the book, but it becomes these absurd objects like an ice cream cone, and that's how it transports. Well, is it an ice cream cone or is it a spaceship? Well, if it's yes, then what isn't possible, and what is truth, and what is anything, and why are we here? And all these big questions become just worthless to even ask if the law of non-contradiction just doesn't hold. And so right. This is the strength of the universality of applying reason.
Right, and so this first point with regard to the strength then is it affirms the universal applicability of reason. They tell us that the importance and value of this emphasis on deductive logic is great for the classical approach to apologetics. Logic is an enormously helpful tool for understanding and evaluating arguments, and it's useful to the apologists in at least three ways, they suggest. So let me at least give the first one here. It's they tell us that it is an indispensable tool for checking the apologist's own arguments to make sure that they are constructed properly. So that's kind of the first way that this particular, logic is used. Check your own arguments to make sure that they are indeed correct, that they're constructed properly, right? That they're valid, as it were. Right.
Well, and then the second way is that logic is a powerful instrument for exposing problems and arguments used against Christian beliefs. And so, again, you can put it in the flowchart form and see, your unsound logic is here, and this is the reason why. The classical apologists are rightly confident that every argument raised against the Christian faith is, in principle, answerable. Many of these are problematic simply because they are logically invalid. And the value of reason in this regard is heightened because reason, unlike technical information from the sciences or personal religious experience, is, in principle, universally applied to all people. And with science, again, it's always changing. We see the phenomena. We experience variations in the phenomena. You have people saying, "Oh, it's this," and all the scientific community saying, "No, that can't be the case. This is the one truth that we always hold to." And then enough people go, "Well, hold on, just a minute. This wobbling of the planet shows that there might be a possibility of another planet." No, absolutely not. And then someone looks through their big tube with some mirrors on it, and lo and behold, we've found another one, and it now becomes, well, of course that's the case, and it goes through it again. But now we know that there are only 9 planets, and no one will ever say anything different.
Right, except until the next time comes around.
Right. So logic is not this. Logic will not change with that. It's highly unlikely that the overturning of the law of non-contradictions will occur. unless you find that other universe that it applies to. And by that time, our universe has been dead because there's another universe that has taken over all other universes.
That's right. And it's turned to an ice cream cone or something.
Right, exactly.
All right. So first of all, then it affirms the universal applicability of reason, right? And this is an indispensable tool for checking the apologist's own arguments. It's a powerful instrument for exposing problems and arguments used against Christianity. And then thirdly, they tell us that the emphasis on logic is helpful in commending the claims of Christ to intelligent non-Christians. They say that too often unbelievers get the impression that Christianity is an irrational faith that requires people to suspend their critical reasoning faculties. Classical apologists work to overcome this stereotype and to reach out to the educated and intellectually oriented non-Christian with the message that the God in whom we believe is the God of reason and truth, right? So logic is helpful then in commending the claims of Christ to intelligent non-Christians. So this is, they suggest, a strength of the classical approach, this emphasis on, the universal applicability of reason.
Right. And so both Christians and non-Christians alike should stop watching the TV and movies where it says, if you have only science, then what room is there for faith? Faith is this amalgamation of just hopefulness and wishful thinking. And we just reach out there with faith, and we just let God do what he wants. And it's just, we just have to do that. Well, but what is faith? Again, every time that we approach faith in our catechism with my children, all right, what is faith? Faith is trust. And so we need to have this non-Hollywood defined version of what faith is and say, faith in what? What is the faith that we're having? It's not just this c'est la vie type deal. It's a trust that God is working, and has worked in history and for purposes, and of course we turn to the Bible for that as defining what to exactly have faith in. So stop watching too many movies, and I'd suggest a good book, but there's a lot of people that don't like it as much. So we'll do that. All right. Well, next, it raises awareness of the unavoidable role of worldviews. Unavoidable worldviews. Look at that, classical apologists. We can talk about these things. It's unavoidable. Well, classical apologists rightfully emphasize that it is impossible to think about the world at large or about facts or experience apart from some worldview, right? We all approach it. We may not codify it. We may not say, oh, I've learned a new piece of information. I'm going to slot it into this portion of my worldview. You just take it in. It's how you experience the world. If all you do is traffic, work, TV, sleep, you are still existing within a worldview. You've built it up in some capacity, in some framework, and it might not be the full breakdown in logic form, but you still hold it, and it's unavoidable. Everyone has one. The classical apologist recognizes the fact that facts are perceived in accordance with an interpretive framework, a way of looking at facts themselves, and even of thinking about concepts of facts. There's no such thing as a brute fact that exists out in the world. It's evidence when it's interpreted. And so it says, this bone in the dirt is something for my theory because this, and it's not something that could just be wiped away and say, well, I don't accept this as anything, and therefore it doesn't exist. But that only facilitates that you're not arguing for a total completion of your worldview, and or an upending of it if you find certain interpretations cannot hold because of facts coming in, or you explain it and we can validate it either by an internal critique, which is the best, or an external critique, and hopefully encourage you to turn over a new leaf and break down your worldview and replace it with a better one.
Right. So this raising awareness of the unavoidable role of worldviews. Now, they tell us that this emphasis on worldviews is significant and valuable for at least two reasons. First, non-Christians are often unaware that they look at life through a specific set of worldview glasses, right? And so this, making them aware of this can help non-Christians rethink some of their beliefs, right? They're saying, well, this is just the way things are. Well, no, actually, you're looking through it at the world through, worldview glasses. So, so this emphasis is helps non-Christians, they suggest, to see that. Secondly, non-Christians and Christians alike are often unaware that distinctive Christians' beliefs typically seem odd or even absurd to non-Christians because they do not fit within the non-Christian worldview. And so comparing the two worldviews can help non-Christians recognize the rationality of Christian beliefs given a theistic worldview.
All right, and then our third major strength that we're going to talk about recognizes common ground with non-Christians. The third major strength that our authors say that is a strength of the classical approach, its ability to find common ground with non-Christians in the principles of reason and in whatever truths that already believe. So if reason and logic are universal, then we all experience it. We all have the same ability to grasp it. There might be a difference in understanding or interpretations, but it's like walking in air, right? We're all walking in the air. Now, some of us could say, "Oh, there's no air around us. I don't see it. Therefore, it doesn't exist." But we're all experiencing it in some capacity. And so we have the ability to relate to other people who are walking around, or fish in the water, or, the only philosophical fish know that they're swimming in water. Well, in this characteristic emphasis, classical apologists show themselves concerned with the practical task of communicating the gospel effectively to people of differing religious and philosophical beliefs. And so to say that no one can relate to each other unless if they hold the exact same worldview or evidences or philosophical claims, then we shouldn't evangelize to anybody because no one can be on our level. In fact, it would be difficult to talk to anybody about anything unless they held specifically to the things that we're talking about. And so here it's the communication of the gospel effectively to people of these different persuasions that our authors say is a big strength for this position.
Right. And so these three then are our book suggests the strengths of this particular classical approach, right? It affirms the universal applicability of reason. It raises awareness of the unavoidable role of worldviews, and it recognizes common ground with non-Christians.